the Red Baron above us. Biplanes. Bizarre. Hello again, it's walkies time, and I've got an extra co-star today. Yes, Alfie's back. Alfie's back. Here he is. Him and Harris off for a walk. Let's see what we can see. It's funny, isn't it, how some trees just jump out at you as more attractive than other trees. I mean, there's lots of little oak trees around here. I'm right next to one here, there's loads over there and all over the field. But this one in particular, there's just something about the shape of it I really, really like. And I can't explain it. It's just aesthetics, I think. And I have seen people sitting at the bottom here, bottom part of the tree where you've got these sort of crotch areas here. I've seen people sitting in there, kids, I've seen artists sitting in there sketching. I've seen people in there reading books. There's just something quite delightful about this tree. It's also a bit odd compared to some of the other oak trees in the fact that it tends to keep its leaves throughout the autumn and winter. I mean, they're all brown and crispy. There's nothing healthy about these leaves at all, and they're going to get pushed off the tree eventually by all these young buds here. There's plenty of new growth coming. But you know, whereas all the other oak trees here have all completely shed their leaves, this one keeps it. No idea why. But it's just nice shape. I'll tell you what it reminds me of. I think it's probably to do with me growing up in the 70s, is all those Roger Dean album covers for Yes, with those strange sort of inverted pyramid shaped rocks flying through space. Maybe that's so ingrained into my consciousness and my sense of what I think looks nice that I'm just drawn to this tree. Can't explain it any other way. I just like this tree. Do you have a favourite tree? It's weird, isn't it? I mean, growing up in Cornwall, I used to be very, very interested in the shapes of Monterey pines. Now, if you're not familiar with the Monterey pine, they tend to grow around the coast, and they're everywhere in Cornwall, and I think they are the distinctive tree of Cornwall because there's something sculptural and almost Japanese art about them. They're beautiful shaped trees. I'll try and show you some photographs I've taken over the years, because whenever I see one, I have to photograph it. I think they're lovely trees. And again, I can't explain why I find them so attractive. I just do. See, if it shows you how unusual that all the trees being left on the oak tree is. I mean, I'm in a grove of oaks now. There's quite a few here. There's a little one here that's got some leaves on it, just here. But otherwise, all these other mature oak trees, barely a leaf left on any of them. Why do some oak trees keep all their leaves throughout the winter, the autumn and winter, and why do some shed them all? There doesn't seem to be any logical reason for it. Perhaps you know. If so, leave a comment below. Keep this live. You going to move? Or are you just going to stand there while I shovel leaves? Takes me back to my childhood. Splashing in puddles, kicking piles of leaves. What a joy. Still a lot of ivy berries around, which is unusual. You'd expect a lot of them to have been gone by now, but we've had such a mild winter that I suppose the birds haven't needed them. I mean, a lot of them haven't even come to ripeness yet. But they're absolutely invaluable during the winter as a source of foodstuff for birds and other animals. There's loads up here, and they're very small and not very well developed. But nevertheless, great source of food. I mean, you will see some people talking about how ivy strangles trees, and certainly you look at these trees here, there's almost none that aren't completely covered in ivy. But generally, as long as it doesn't take complete control, it does more good than harm, because it provides cover for animals and birds particularly. It provides food in the winter, and yeah, it's not a bad thing. It's just maybe a little bit unsightly, and a lot of people like their gardens to be pristine, don't they? I once heard someone describe the art of gardening as being a bit like a war, in the fact you've got to rip out all the plants that want to grow in your garden and replace them with ones that don't. And it's kind of true. Not the way I do gardening. I mean, I don't do anything to my lawn except cut it now and again. I don't even rake the leaves up in the autumn, because the leaves are a really important place. They're a really important habitat for insects and creatures that are trying to overwinter, because of course they provide cover, warmth, etc, etc. So why sweep them up? The only reason people sweep them up, of course, is because it gets moss growing in the lawn, and they don't want moss on their lovely lawns. Personally, I don't care. Again, moss is a better habitat than grass is. So, especially, you know, cultivated grass. So I'm quite happy. So a bit of mowing now and again, a little bit of weeding, and that's my lot. And most people who come to my garden say, "Oh, I love your garden, it feels so natural." Oh, really? So yeah, nature's the best architect, nature's the best gardener. I had to pay a whistle-stop visit to one of my daughters today, and hers and her boyfriend's house delightfully backs onto the local village cricket pitch. And it's nice sitting here in the summer and listening to the crack of leather on willow and the cries of owls. But this time of year it's interesting because the whole pitch is covered in fairy rings. Covered in fairy rings. Obviously the fairies are into cricket. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you found something vaguely interesting in it. There's always something to see when you go out for a walk. I can't figure out people who walk along with earpods or just staring at their phone when there's so much going on around you. The countryside's a wonderful place. Anyway, see you next time. Toodle bip.